yeah.
Can you believe it's February already, guys? We've blown through an entire month of 2023 already. Woo! Absolutely crazy. Man, it literally feels like last week was New Year's. It's nuts.
Who's still going to the gym?
Is it empty?
Hey!
Gym?
You'll have to let us know, Pete. Is it empty now? Have people given up on their New Year's resolutions already?
I don't know. The last time I went to the gym in prime time, it was rammed and I gave up. So I came back at like 10 o'clock at night.
Awesome. Good to have you guys with us this week. Welcome, Theo Nell is tuning in from YouTube land, from sunny UK. It's freezing over here. Winter came back for a unexpected visit this week, so do what we can do. So those of you tuning in on LinkedIn, I wanted to give you an update on LinkedIn comments. I'll give you guys an update too. LinkedIn is actually rethinking the use of third-party vendors for the comments API. So that is the latest update they gave Ecamm last week, right before the launch of 4.0. So it's possible that some who have access to the LinkedIn comments may lose it. So we'll see. It's due to privacy issues.
Is this like a situation where they kind of disable it internally and then tell people a week later they've actually changed their mind and don't want to do it anymore?
Exactly. I think we'll see a good uprise, hopefully, but they claim it's privacy issues, which I do kind of understand. But yeah, we'll see. But
man, we started last week's episode going Microsoft.
I know,
week
right?
Exactly the same thing.
So I'm monitoring the comments from LinkedIn. So if you're tuning in from LinkedIn, go ahead and drop a comment in there. I've kind of done a workaround so we can bring those comments up on screen. So, but yes, welcome Theo tuning in today, and anybody else live. Let us know where you're tuning in from as well. We're going to be talking about all things artificial intelligence. And I got to bust out the robot voice.
We're going to be talking about all things artificial intelligence.
I got to play with the roads.
I spend all day just making crank phone calls to people with it. It's brilliant. I'll be phoning Scott and Pete all the time with that voice.
It's funny what you can do with that thing. I got, chipmunk in a tunnel, so with the sensor button. I was thinking of some ways of creating some animated stuff with the Roadcaster. So tune in. It'll get fun here shortly. Oceande Ngaza is tuning in from Brooklyn, New York. Welcome, Oceande, to the show today. He's catching us live today. Glad to have you with us. So I'm curious too. We'll throw the question out before we jump into the discussion. Are you using any type of artificial intelligence in your MSP, whether that's ChatGPT or any type of artificial intelligence tools? Drop those in the comments. And which ones are you using too? I like to see which ones people are using. So, because I've actually found people have shared like 2 or 3 others that I had never heard of, and I'm like, okay, we'll try those out. So, but yeah, we're going to be talking about all things artificial intelligence. This week it's all over. I don't think I can't go a day now without pulling up LinkedIn and there's some type of AI conversation going on. So, Welcome Tony Edwards to the show. Theo said he has not used any type of AI yet. So I figure what we do is just talk about use cases for it where we see any type of impact in an MSP space with AI and all the tools. Like I said, I think we're just breaking loose with what is possible with AI. So I'm going to throw this out to the discussion. Whoever wants to start this one.
Yeah. Go for it.
I've got some beautiful use cases after Pete goes, if that's all right.
Pete's going to get us started, especially since he spent a week in artificial intelligence. So,
I was going to say, I think the best use cases, and this is ChatGPT because that's obviously the big thing that's going around at the moment, has been where people want to say something but they don't know how to say it. It's been really, really good. And I've seen people in my Discord group use it to write up things like price increase letters and just notifying customers about certain things. And I even used it the other night because I was trying to figure out how to communicate. I was changing my schedules and with my coaching sessions because I'm trying to reorganize my life yet again. And I couldn't figure out how to word it. And I logged onto ChatGPT and I literally went, this is what I used to do in my coaching. This is what I'd like to do. Can you write an email to my clients explaining how that change is going to happen? and like 2 seconds later, boom, it's given me a really nicely worded, polite email, professional email that I didn't take it word for word, but I kind of used maybe 60 to 80% of it and then changed it. But just use cases like that, I see as being fantastic, because it's, I always used to get told when I ran my MSP that I was very good at writing emails. I was a very good email composer or whatever that might be, because I like having time. I can sit back and figure out what it needs to say in which order and strip out all the rubbish that's in there. Whereas now you can just throw it into ChatGPT and it just gives you pretty much the exact same message within like a couple of minutes. So I think that's definitely been the biggest and best case of it that I've seen so far in like the day-to-day kind of world. And of course, we'll get on to more automations within like ticketing tools and PSA and RMM and those kind of things. But I think that's a great starting point in terms of the automation. You can also use it to generate documents, and I've seen legal documents be created through ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Not quite sure how I feel about using one of those. I feel that's a very dangerous thing to do. But it's better than nothing, I guess. I wouldn't feel comfortable personally, but I've seen people do it.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what it boils down to, isn't it? That idea, is it better than nothing? So I think for a lot of MSPs watching, you can see, where was it? John from Westway IT said, it can write far better than me. We touched upon this last week, though, didn't we? We were saying, Chat GPT. And if anybody's not come across Chat GPT, and there's a slew of these type of applications out there now, you can ask it a question, you can ask it to write a document, you can ask it what the meaning of life is, and it will instantly come back and tell you about these things. But I think the point is it churns out something that's okay. It's like an expanded version of Google, really. It's going to come back with all of the information that it pulls together. It's going to give you that document. So for MSPs who are maybe using it to create blog posts and marketing, it's going to be better than nothing. But I still, the technology is not there yet to actually produce something that you go, wow, that is, absolutely perfect, just what I need to use. So there still needs to be human intervention in it. And my biggest fear about AI for the marketing perspective and content generation is that it's just going to produce a load of average crap that goes out there. And my God, we're all suffering from content fatigue as it is. We don't need the robots, throwing stuff out there as well. But I think we're going to get on a little bit later, aren't we, to the automation that can be used within the MSP business. But in the first instance, and what has come to people's minds with AI is, I can get it to do my marketing for me because I'm not that comfortable with it. I wouldn't hand the keys to my marketing office across to ChatGPT just yet, though.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to welcome a couple people to the show, and then we're going to turn it over to Scott. So welcome, Christopher Reckford. I think this might be his first time catching the show. Appreciate that.
He's in Jamaica.
I know, right? I'm like, exactly when I read that, I'm like, oh, I'm super jealous.
We were all saying how cold we were just before coming on air. I'm guessing Christopher doesn't have that problem now.
I don't think he's got that problem today, for sure.
That's amazing.
So Scott, what do you think? What is your hot take on AI so far?
Oh, I'm having a lot of fun with this stuff. Can I share screen? Is that okay? I've got some great stuff to kind of show you.
Go ahead here.
I will share a tab, which is this one. You let me know when you can see it, because I lose you guys when it comes up.
Not yet, no.
Okay,
not yet. Think about it.
Yep, just give me a second. I'm going to switch video source to Scott's screen.
There we go.
Boom.
All right. So first humorous example. I asked it to write a HR policy about not bringing smelly food into the office. Now, actually, this is because Ben was bringing in some real stinky food, and so we had to have a word. But like you can see, actually, like it stages it out really nicely. Here's an introduction. We want a comfortable and productive work environment for all employees. This could be a distraction. So here's the policy. Here are some exceptions. Here are some consequences. And you're like, actually, that's not terrible. And it even gave some examples of fish and strong cheeses and spicy foods, or any other thing that has a strong odor that may linger in the office. Oh, wow. Okay. From a joke, I'm actually like, that's not a terrible policy. So if you were trying to get some inspiration for policies that you needed to bring up, maybe not smelly food, but this is a good starting point. And I'm going to keep referring to it like that. It's a starting point. It's a good place to start on things. So some soft stuff there. What are the recommended 365 security settings for SMB organizations? Well, this is great. This is like a nice little one-pager, cheat sheet, or a nice, introduction in one of your proposals or a presentation. Maybe just a checklist that you want to go through with some clients. It actually comes out and says, hey, here are some of the recommended security settings. I'm not going to read them to you, but this is all correct. Again, it's a great starting point for you to get some nice things together. Again, at the bottom it says, hey, these are just some, it's not all of them. It's definitely recommended to speak to your MSP or your IT partner to chat this through. Write a friendly email message to go with an employee payslip. Sure. Okay. Why not? Now, this is where it gets interesting, because Pete, you made a video that was about 10 ways the iPhone 14 Pro was not as good as the S22 Ultra. And I couldn't be bothered to watch it. So I took the transcript from your 10-minute video. Okay. And I took all of the transcript and I literally just said summarize. And then I pasted in the transcript. So here's all the words that you said. Sorry, Pete, I didn't have 10 minutes. I love you. And here are all your words. And I said, summarize that for me. Okay. Oh, it's still going. Here we go. Okay. And this is it. In this comparison between the S22 Ultra and the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max, the S22 Ultra comes out ahead in several ways. And here are the ways. And I was like, that's interesting. I'd like to know a bit more. So you just type continue. And then it goes, cool. Okay, well, yeah, here's some more information that I dug out from that transcript. Now, the way I've seen this used, I mean, that's great just for summarizing some YouTube stuff, but I've also seen that used in Teams meetings now. People are suggesting take the transcript from the Teams meeting and you can use that as a summary of the meeting. You could also ask it, what actions came up in this transcript? And it will pull out things that sound like actions. So again, really interesting. What else did I have? Okay, so this is my issue that I have with it. It's not always correct. You've got to bear in mind the data set came from 2021, so you can't take it at face value. You have to sanity check everything. I asked it here, is Azure AD Premium P1 included in this license business premium? And it said no. Bloody. It tells me why. I've actually told it that is incorrect. Azure AD Premium P1 is included. Oh, okay, I apologize. You are correct. It is included. So when I ask it the next time, yes, it's included, and here are all the other things that it includes. This is my point, though. You cannot, this isn't, I know people are looking at it as a nice way to Google or a nice way to get some quick stuff together, but it's not always correct. You have to do your fact checking. And that's why I'm looking at this as a great place to start. I've got one other example to show you, and then I'll shut up for a bit, and hopefully this has just caused some inspiration. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Let's say you're not great at PowerShell, but you know there's something you need to do in PowerShell, and this could be great for your level 1 techs. Okay, so I've asked it to write a PowerShell script for Office 365 Online, which lists all users who have an archive mailbox. That is something we might get asked, and you might want to check, and it will go through and it'll say, hey, right, here is your PowerShell script. It actually writes it in a script box, and it gives you the button to copy the code and go ahead and paste it in. And this is a functional script. It will do what I asked it to do. And it took about 2 seconds to do that. And again, this is definitely something you could Google, definitely something you could find on Microsoft Learn, but actually just asking it in plain text and getting the exact answer that I wanted was really helpful. My only issue with this is that it's using a legacy authentication method here, but I could have stipulated use modern authentication, I guess. But look at that. It's gone ahead and got me a PowerShell script that will work within minutes for exactly what I asked it to do. So those are some of my examples. The only other example I have is that I also ask it to write short stories about 2 characters that me and the kids have come up with. And so we ask it to 2 stories for bedtime.
Now that is an interesting use case there.
Bad. So. It's not bad.
That's amazing, Scott, yeah.
No, so definite, just interesting use cases there.
The checking it over to make sure it's correct thing is definitely a valid point. One of my coaching clients and a guy in my Discord, he was writing things like, write me a script that can do this. And I think it was something along the lines of like, grab a list of my customers' domains, check their expiry dates, and then do something with them. And the script it gave them was sound. except it very top is like import module, and it named a module that didn't exist. So
Yeah.
had it created it out of thin air, but had that module exist, then the script would have worked just fine. But it does make certain assumptions a lot of the time, I understand.
Well, and it's a year out of date at least. Well, sorry, 2 years out of date, potentially, based on the data set. So once ChatGPT 4 comes along, when that's released, then it'll have a more up-to-date data set, I assume. And so you might get some more relevant information. But I think for like some of the things that I've seen people do, say, hey, give me 10 blog post ideas about, 365 security. I'll stay in my lane. Give me 10 ideas. Give me 10 titles. Give me 10 YouTube video names that are exciting. And you can put the emotion in that you want to grab, and it will come back and suggest 10 different things. You can say, here's my YouTube video, and here's the title. Give me 10 exciting variants of that. Oh, there you go, Pete. Yeah, I can see you.
Here, let me zoom in.
I'll just
there.
do one just there. Actually, I was with my watch test I'm doing at the moment. I'm testing the durability of these 3 watches in a video. Give me 20 viral video titles under 50 characters for that video. Bang.
Yeah.
Tons of ideas. So yeah, that's a very, very good way of coming up with marketing ideas, titles for blog posts, articles, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But I'd say everything needs to be checked, right? You've got to apply the human element to this. I think you can start to become very good prompt writers for this stuff, but you need to sanity check it afterwards. You can't just take it and dump it online, or as we're getting in the comments, you can't just take that script and dump it into your live environment. You have to check everything.
Yeah, for sure.
The interesting thing about this, because there's some technologies out there now, isn't there? We've heard about deep fakes and things of that nature. And Pete, this is probably more in your lane, but I've seen people talking about, okay, you can get ChatGPT or something similar to create a script. You can then get AI tools to create a really winning SEO-friendly YouTube video title. You can then get an AI to actually deliver the script to camera for you. Now, you've probably seen this, haven't you? Around there. So think about this. This is getting to the crazy situation where you could outsource the whole thing to a virtual assistant, and then you wouldn't have to do any of the work whatsoever, and you could probably generate advertising revenue on YouTube. So all of that, in theory, sounds really interesting. In practice, I think what you'll find is, again, we'll just have a ton of really average videos being pumped out there, automated and that. So I think that, for all MSPs watching that, and you're thinking, is this actually going to take away, some of my job? No, because what we can speak about and what we're doing in this show here is speaking from our personal experience. And that's something a computer AI can't really replicate. Maybe at some point it will be able to, but right as it stands right now, it can do everything that we can do, but not nearly as good as us because it hasn't got the human element. And I say that as an AI aficionado. I truly believe the future of this, we're heading for a sort of Star Trek future where we spend all of our time doing things that we enjoy doing as opposed to the drudgery. But at the moment, it's not quite there. But Pete, have you come across that sort of concept that I just suggested?
I have indeed. I was just trying to find it here. So I actually was sponsored a while ago with Synthesia.
Synthesia,
which is an AI app where I am trying to find it here. That at the very beginning, I think that's admittedly it's a couple of years old now, but that's an AI version of me.
Wow.
Which the voice wasn't the same was the only main issue, but they use it to you basically sit down, you read a script in front of a green screen so they can kind of get some of your mannerisms and your movements and track your face and everything. But you can literally go in here, type in, like you were saying, type in the words you want it to say, pick the voice, pick the language, and it will give you an AI an AI video with me speaking in whatever foreign language it might be needed. And they actually use this. It was David Beckham did I think it must have been a TV ad a while ago, and they used that technology, Synthesia, I think they were on site with them, to make David Beckham speak like 20 different languages, but to the stage where obviously he kept his face, but they were just kind of doing the AI bit, the clever bit around his mouth, so it made the right movements to say the right words. And it looked so real, like incredibly real, because they obviously spent a lot more time trying to get that to look good.
Yeah.
But you're quite right. There's the whole kind of, the the deep fake stuff, the AI technology, the voice. I think is going to be coming very, very soon as well. So there's already systems out there you can train with your own voice, and they will then speak with your voice. So it's only going to be a matter of time when all of this kind of merges together, and it becomes a problem for us humans, probably.
Yeah, yeah. I know.
Did anybody this
Descript
week
does that right now. So
a practical application of AI that I saw this week, or machine learning at least, was has anybody seen the latest NVIDIA broadcast update where it can actually readjust your eyes?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So we can
Yeah.
see, everybody can see it, like I'm speaking to you on camera now, but let's just say if I've got a script or I'm speaking to Scott and Andrew, like my face goes off a little bit here and you can see where my eyes are going. Well, it actually follows your eyes and readjusts them so you're looking at the camera. And if you look completely away, of course, it knows what to do there. But, I tried it and it does it to quite a decent level already. So those are the incremental.
Though, when you're sat there with like a mobile phone and the eyes are staring at the screen, it looks really odd.
it
Yeah,
does.
we're going to get to that stage, that
And
old
the guy
school
was
stage.
doing this as well. It's like doing that.
Have you ever been in an art gallery? And doesn't matter where in the art gallery you go with the portrait, the eyes are following you.
Yeah.
Yeah, John, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate that. He had a question. Has anybody managed to get into ChatGPT? Every time I try, I can't get into the servers. So I'm not sure what.
It's normally about 10 p.m. at night here in the UK that it starts working for me.
Yeah, I noticed that late afternoon.
Trouble getting in. I know it tells you, hey, we're busy, but then I'll just like refresh a few times and then I'll get through to the login screen. So it hasn't been bad for me to get in on the few occasions. I mean, I literally logged in live just before this session so I could show you those examples that we've done before. And again, as I was trying to log in, it says, hey, we're busy, come back or notify me when it's free. I don't do that. I just like delete the URL, go again, give it a couple of minutes and I'll get in. But it does seem to work. I hear, John, there is a lot of talk around the premium version of ChatGPT that they're proposing to launch. Again, the rumor mill is saying it's kind of $42 a month, which I genuinely think is a bargain, honestly, given what it can do. And if you've got access to ChatGPT 4, I think it'll be a great part of the toolkit that we can learn to leverage in a really good way. Because again, a lot of the stuff that our techs do, certainly in Service Desk, is a huge amount of Googling. How do I do this? How do I do that? How can I fix this? How can I fix that? If it's got that intelligence where we've got, the ability to get fresh data and get fresh answers to results and give me a way to resolve this. I've seen some great steps where people said, hey, a computer is having this kind of issue. What should I check first? And it kind of goes bong, 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 bong. That's cool. That's giving those level 1 tech guys some kind of checklist to run through. If you don't already have something like that in your standard operating procedures, it's giving them some stuff to check. But again, I'd still maybe like your service manager to run through those sets of questions and see if it is coming back with the right kind of answers. If it's coming back to you saying, hey, I'm having this problem on this Windows PC, and it goes, great, yeah, if you press Command and space and then search for this, you're like, no, that's on a Mac. That's not going to work here. But I do genuinely think this is super exciting. There's some really good, Launchpad content that's in there. There's a couple of GitHub repositories that have jumped up with great ChatGPT prompts, which are well worth looking at as well. And so you can kind of get some great examples of how to really use the tool effectively. Because I think it's a really good tool. But as I say, it's a tool. It's a starting point. Check its work. Definitely check its work.
Before we move on to the serious applications of the tools, there's one other I've got to throw out here. So has anybody tried DALL-E? So DALL-E.
Well, I've done
AI things. I don't want to give my information to. I don't want to upload photos of me to them. It's just I've avoided that.
Exactly right. And you've just hit. So for anybody who's not familiar with DALL-E, think of ChatGPT but for images. So, while we've been on air here, I've been saying to DALL-E, I was like, do me a picture of the world's coolest IT administrator playing cards with Elvis Presley. And this is all really foolish stuff there, but it produces some incredible, unique images. So I can actually see a practical application for this. Have you ever gone to a website and they're using stock images and you're like, just turns you off immediately? Well, DALL-E could actually produce some sort of images using your own photographs and things of you in different situations. Perhaps what would it look like? Scott Riley speaking to a client on the Toffel Tower. I don't know why that would happen, but DALL-E will make it happen to you. But Pete, to your point, everybody's jumping into these things and giving their information away. But just like Facebook, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. And, I think around Christmas, didn't everybody jumped in and got AI generated versions of themselves? But I haven't read the terms and conditions, but I'm pretty sure that most people who did that have now allowed those AI companies to use their sort of facial images in their own marketing material at best, and perhaps other stuff.
Yeah,
Who knows?
Lenza
You've got
was
to be
the
aware
other
of
one.
these privacy. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people did Lenza, which I think, is it just iPhone or is it Android as well? The Lenza app.
I think it was just iPhone. I think I was going to try it, and I was on Android, and I couldn't do it. I think.
Yeah, that was the other one. I went through that, and it just kind of got thrown up by a couple security experts too. If you read the fine print of the terms of service, yeah, they own the right to license your images. So you're giving that right away. So just a thought. Just a thought. Yeah, so lots coming in now.
With, Midjourney. So Midjourney is like not a competitor, but it's a similar tool to DALL-E. And again, it's quite hit and miss. It's a strange way to do things because everything's done through a Discord server instead. So you literally just message the Midjourney bot. And you say imagine, and then you give it a whole series of keywords. And then you wait, and it will sit there, and then it will send you back a message of 4 suggested images, and you can tell it, hey, I really like that one. Give me an upscaled version of that suggestion, or can you just iterate this one a little bit better for me? And you see, like, people are using it for stock image generation. They're using it for logo generation or logo inspiration, and you just like because you're in a group with everyone else who's also asking the questions, and so you're just getting all the other content that they're generating like every single second, so you can really see what people are starting to use it for. And again, I think tools like this are fantastic to get that kind of inspiration. I don't think I'd take a logo that it had generated, but I would maybe take that and go, okay, do you know, I really like what it did with this piece and this piece. I really like the way it's done this. We could use that for some, almost like a mood board, for the inspiration for what you're going to do for something. But yeah, Richard, I like your suggestion of like that stock image, kind of idea. There's too much stock nonsense on websites, especially MSP websites, where we're all really bad at it, genuinely. And taking the time out to get your team to have a professional photo shoot can be difficult, right? Everyone's busy. So if you can generate some images that are you and represent your personality and your brand really well, and you might need to, Photoshop them a bit later. I think some of the comments have said, hey, it's hard to get text to appear on those images. You're absolutely right. But again, if you get to create the background image, then you can just quickly layer the text on top. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've seen that. Christopher said, so I guess the first use case for a lot of people is using it to act as their personal assistant, doing copywriting. I think that was kind of a quick hit there for pretty much everybody. Let me just going through the comments. We got lots of comments today. I figured this would be a good topic today. So,
are they comments from real people, or are they AI generated comments from people who have sent their bots to attend the webinar and then give them a summary of it later? I don't know.
I think if the bots were here, we'd be seeing some porn spam. So
it's early in the night.
They have to throw that in there. So let's see here. Somebody else was using that. So that was the first use case, I think, for help videos was another one. So let's talk about like kind of some of the other use cases for MSPs.
I like what Dan Baird said. He says, legend from the Tech Tribe, Dan Baird there, he says, I really like using ChatGPT to get me starting building out standard operating procedures very effective. That's a really powerful way to get started, because so many MSPs I speak to, when I talk about systemizing, documenting a business, getting information out of your head, and they go, where to start? And it's like, well, you start with what you're doing, but actually if you need that little bit of a push or an example of what a good SOP might look like, or even average SOP, I think that's a really good use of using the technology there, Dan.
Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to look up through a couple other ones. Jack Fisher, welcome. Good to have you with us today. He said, I think using it to help with ticket dispatch roles could be useful. So how do you guys see that playing in, and are there tools that allow that right now?
Yeah, I think it's just around the corner, isn't it?
It really feels like it. I've heard a lot of discussion about it, or people have built their own integrations to kind of bounce ticket requests in through a chat GPT engine to then go, like, which person, which team, what's the problem? Actually, is there a recommended solution immediately that we can go back with? And so they're asking those questions through the chat GPT engine. And the feedback is, it's like having a first line tech who's got maybe 1 or 2 years experience is the type of answers that are coming back. Again, bear in mind that it's a year out of date with its, or 1 to 2 years out of date with this data set. But for a lot of those common queries, they're having some success with passing it out, getting the response back, and then using a human to then go, okay, I know what the next step would be, with this ticket. Interestingly, I saw Adam Vors, absolute legend.
Yes.
He was saying that they're looking at how to give their customers a way to do that for self-help. And I think that's great. Again, same idea. Maybe you're going to take the inbound request from the customer. Hey, the printer's not printing, or hey, my word's not wording, whatever the question is. Pass it through chat GPT and come out with give me a list of suggested things to try first, and then bounce it back to go, hey, can you just try these things for me? And then if you're still in the same situation, we'll jump right on. Obviously, your SLAs and your relationship with your client, it's up to you how you want to handle that. It might be, as I say, that you pass it through, you give it to the operator, and they've got, this is the challenge, here's some recommended solutions, get on the phone. And you're like, oh, well, you've got a springboard for that guy to really get into what the problem might be.
Yeah, Vince Forstall had the same question. He said, how can we enable AI, and which one, to help in help desk functions and to speed up problem resolutions? He's in Toronto, so thank you, Vince.
That's already here already, isn't it? Our friends across at SuperOps AI, they're building this tool that does intelligent ticket routing, for want of a better word there, where it'll look at the ticket, it'll route it to the right person, and the right person could be by skill, or it could be by resources available at the time. And for this is why, getting on my soapbox a little bit here, guys, but I talk about, I'm a big fan of the tools and solutions that are coming, down the road that positively disrupt our industry. Because think about the PSA tools and the RMM tools that we've got at the moment. They do a good job, no two ways about that. But they feel stale, don't they? Because we've still got engineers resetting passwords. We've still got tickets. We've still got engineers enabling them to cherry pick the tickets that they want to do. And for every MSP owner knows the situation where a ticket has got stale because none of your team want to touch it because it's either boring or outside their comfort level. We've all been there. We all do it. So and that's where dispatchers come in. Somebody will give the ticket to somebody, but the AI-based application of this that SuperOps are doing, I think, is like revolutionary, and this is where the real wins are going to come for MSPs, making sure a ticket goes to somebody who's got the skills and all the resources to do it. Everything's going to speed up and get a lot better.
Yeah, that's Westway IT said the same thing. Have it review tickets. That sounds awesome for nimble MSPs, an extra edge for time.
I think we are literally just around the corner from it, because the chat GPT technology is there. All it needs to do is essentially, see the ticket coming in, identify what type of ticket it is. And then we were chatting about a little bit earlier, but there's PIA who are doing some kind of integrations with very heavy PowerShell scripts, which will, I think it's almost like the Mr. Clippy. It looks like you're creating a new user. Would you like some help with that? Yeah. And
it looks like you're merging two Active Directory trees. Would you like me to know? No way.
But it does everything for you. And I feel like there's just that missing link now of find the ticket as it comes in, go, okay, that's something I can deal with. Yes, okay, for a password reset. Okay, ticket is coming in saying, please, please, can you reset my password? It finds the user, it resets their password, it sends them an email back to let them know it's been changed and to call the help desk to get the password, and then it closes the ticket or something like that. That seems like a no-brainer that shouldn't be too far off, I don't think. It's just waiting for the right people to integrate the right kind of engines.
it'll be a case of we've mentioned like super ops and that they've got native tools to do that because they've essentially been very smart and built a modern platform based on AI machine learning. So that's going to come to those MSPs that are using it almost immediately. You can use it now and it's only going to get better. For the likes of people who are using legacy or well-established PSA tools, I think the route there is exactly what you've said, Pete. They're going to look at some of these new companies that are coming out that integrate with Autotask, with ConnectWise, etc., etc. They're going to acquire those companies, and then within the next 2-3 years, slowly but surely, because this is a big undertaking for them, they're going to integrate that into the platform. So that's the prediction I would throw out there. But if you want to use these tools today, right now, in anger, short of moving your entire business operating system to a new platform, it's going to be more difficult to integrate it.
Yeah, Dan
There is,
Laird had a couple here. Just if you guys have had any experience, GetThread.com uses GPT-3, and what's the other one? Crushbank. I hadn't heard either one of those two. So
yeah, Crushbank's a really interesting.
I love his comment. Yeah. It's been doing it since before all this stuff was cool. They definitely have.
True. The Crushbank was built off. What was the computer called? The IBM supercomputer that played chess and
Watson
against the Grandmaster.
Yep.
Watson. I believe it's actually built off the back of that, and forgive me if that's not the case. But poor old Watson, I don't know if anybody remembers that. One of the world's best supercomputers beat Gary Kasparov or whatever at chess, but then got relegated to when you phone up the cinema and you want to book a ticket to go and see Avatar at 3 p.m, it was the one that actually translated that. And I'm like, can you imagine this supercomputer sitting there and doing all this grunt work that it's really boring? But yes, Crushbank have really grabbed that, the Watson API, and enabled it to help MSPs. So when a ticket comes up, it will actually say, hey, based on your other tickets, here's some information that might help you resolve this. And an interesting, and you can tell I get passionate about this, but an interesting application of some of these AI tools. Imagine if you're moving from Autotask to SuperOps or from ConnectWise to Kaseya, whatever it might be. You either have to bring across a ton of old data, and that's really difficult to do, to implement it and to integrate it into your new PSA tool. You lose it, or you use one of these AI tools, point it at the old information, and then every time you've got a ticket come up in your modern tool, it goes back and goes through all of the old info and says, here's something that happened on that machine, in that client site with that person before. Does it help you in this situation? So there's some really interesting sort of archive perspectives to these AI technologies as well.
Yeah, I like that one. That one's pretty dope. So
the other one I've heard of, there's a lot of what do they call it? Extract, transform, load, ETL type tools. And again, if we could have AI doing that kind of stuff to keep up to date and go, look, I've got something in this format, I need it in this format, and you can then have that interoperability of moving things between platforms. I also like John Harrison's like diggling in my brain, because I was like, was it Watson or was it? And I was like, is it DeepMind, Deep Blue, something like that? So I don't know. We need to.
I've just merged two supercomputers together in one story, haven't I? There,
just Google, yeah. I also liked O.C. Ande had a great point. He was talking about to do this kind of stuff, you can create a massive knowledge base internally. Yeah. And where I think that's been really good for MSPs in the past to build massive knowledge bases internally based on their experience and build SOPs around those. But what I think the ChatGPT gives us the opportunity of is having a much wider knowledge base. So if it's got access to the right information, and it's checked in the right way. Watson was for a Jeopardy game show. Okay. If it has all the knowledge, essentially that's been made available, in like the formal documentation for a vendor or a product, everything that's available in their tech documentation, it has access to those. So when you ask it a question, it has the chance to, essentially read a lot of that or summarize a lot of that and bring it forward. So I think, I can see a bit where we're not going to have to keep having these massive knowledge bases ourselves that were built up from our own learning, but actually we can tap into those knowledge bases. And maybe even, someone's going to start to create the knowledge base, for IT support, for MSPs, that then a chat GPT engine could sit in front of, and it can be democratized to anybody. I don't know, but I just think there's such an exciting opportunity here for it not just to be things that we built ourselves that we're dependent on, but access to a wider set.
Yeah,
Think of the
Westway
security
IT had one in
implications.
there. Go ahead, Richard. I'm just going.
So sorry to speak over you. I was going to say, going back to what Pete said, the security implications, though, if you're trying to build that internal knowledge base, which I think is a brilliant idea, and you use an AI, let's just say you give it details to your client sites and you give it like access to your vendor accounts and things like that. Holy cow, that's a lot of information, isn't it? To go through, essentially, because it's not going to be stored on your site, it's going to be stored on a supercomputer, Watson or whatever, and somewhere else, isn't it? Are you comfortable with a third party having access to all of that information?
I was thinking.
Please don't tell anybody else at the end of your request.
Yeah. I was busy thinking like the how-tos and what-tos and how to fix and best recovery mechanisms, that kind of thing, rather than anything sensitive data. But I've got this problem. This error message has appeared. What's the best thing? And just bang, this is the best answer. Because we've all had those things where we've had a technical issue happen, whatever it is. It might be a driver, it might be something that's not working, it might be something on the PC. And you'll go through pages and pages and pages of people's opinions and tech forums and articles. And I tried this and that nailed it. Well, it didn't work for me. That never worked for me, but I tried this and that works. All right, I'll try that. No, that didn't work either. And you spend hours going down, and eventually you get to the guy at the bottom of the list and you go, yeah, that one worked. Why wasn't that up at the top? And that, again, that's why I just think this is where this experience might be. We could have that, this is the best answer. And I know, if you think of Experts Exchange, I have to say that separately because I think they needed a hyphen in their name at some point because it was always Experts Exchange. Sure, okay, that's not what I came for. But they have such a vast knowledge base that's been put together by the community. Imagine being able to harness that with the power of chat GPT and some intelligence that says, 9 times out of 10, people agree this was the best answer that fixed it for them. So that's the one I'm going to present through when you ask me this question.
Yeah. And Westway IT had a use case, kind of what you're talking about there. Write an email to a user whose Exchange mailbox is nearly full, give them advice on clearing space and how they can see storage used. Yeah, it's just, that's... To me, if I'm an MSP, that's the first place I'm starting, which everybody did, which is personal assistant. Second place I'm looking is help desk. How do I automate some of those low level, that right there would take up 10 or 15 minutes of a tech's time, and multiply that how many times a week that goes on. Those could potentially be tickets that never existed.
Yeah, the security point Richard make is a really interesting one because I can just see it happening. When are we going to hear the first news story of AI reset my whole business's passwords and locked everyone out? Those kind of things where it just got let loose a little bit. It's always, what's the saying is security is the something of can't remember what the saying was now, but basically people just give up security because of convenience. Convenience is the enemy of security. That's it.
Yeah.
Because it's been so convenient. It will save a lot of time, a lot of money, potentially hiring extra people, that a lot of people are going to skim over the fact that it does have access to a lot of information. And we all know how quickly it is. Oh, we can paint pretty pictures with faces of us. Yes, upload all of our information, and now we can get some photos of us. So it's very, very easy for people to go and do that. But it's one that I hope a lot of these vendors that are looking at obviously implementing and bringing in AI into that, they're taking very, very seriously, because it feels like it's the kind of thing where people will go, here's our flagship features. Let's not worry about the security stuff just yet. And it is a big concern. Absolutely. It's something to be very aware of, starting to build things into your, into your ticketing system, into your RMM, client information, documentation. There's lots of data that it could potentially touch.
If you're an MSP, by the way, listening, if you want an idea for a seminar, webinar, lunch and learn, live stream, I would be jumping all over that right now.
I was just about to add to this, Andrew. I was going to say, let's rewind a little bit. There's two bits about AI. Everybody's getting excited about it, but the four of us especially, and lots of experts in our industry, have been banging the drum for years about the value of outsourcing VAs and things of that nature, and also and human beings I'm talking about here, not AI. And also the instructions that you give people. So I've spoken to some people and they've said, oh, well, I've worked with VAs, virtual assistants. It's not worked for me because I have to end up explaining everything in great detail to them. It's no different with AI, really. If you give AI and a really basic, simple instruction, it'll give you a really basic, simple response. If you give a VA detailed instructions, they'll go away and do a really, really good job for you with it. So I would have said that's the first really important thing. And secondly, to your point, Andrew, about MSPs jumping all over this topic, it's not quite there yet. We know that. But what do you do as an MSP for your clients? Well, instead of an internal IT team, which is one or two or however many people who have sick leave and have to keep up with their training and all the costs that go with that, the MSP, you bring a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of experience from across all these different types of clients, and you amalgamate it and you give everybody who works with you the benefit of that. So there's some sort of analogy in there, I think, Andrew, isn't there, where you can say, look, AI's around the corner, but until it gets here, you're getting a lot of the benefits of that amalgamated approach, that universal mind from working with an MSP like ourselves.
Yeah, and I think the secondary topic is what you guys just talked about with security.
Yeah,
everybody wants to lead the cybersecurity discussion. Like this, jump on. This is the hot topic of the month. Don't say AI's not. Put your head in the sand. It's coming. Here's what we're doing to help make sure that you're safe. Here's some things that you can do inside your business, because we all know how many of the people inside of our own customers right now are using ChatGPT. Could they potentially be giving access to information that they shouldn't? Like from every perspective, that's how you lead that discussion. Not that we're going to ignore it and pretend it didn't exist, but this is how we're going to get ahead of that conversation. So yeah, great topics for people to be able to get in front of. Let's see here. Jason Kelmsley, welcome to the show. He said, anyone switched their everyday tools to AI-powered ones? I switched to you.com a few weeks ago, and I'm starting to see the AI really learn what I care about, e.g. lots of images and text. Little text.
Yeah. I hadn't heard of you.com, but it's an AI search engine. It's like an AI Google, basically. So you start searching for the stuff, and I guess it gets to know who you are and what you're looking for.
That's interesting.
I've tried with calendar applications and things before, where it'll come in and it'll automatically understand your calendar and then go back to the person as a real human being and say, hey, Richard can't make that time and date. Can you do any of these 3 times? And that's, worked reasonably well. But as it stands right now, today, humans, I've got a team of humans that do that way better. And that's the competitive differentiator. So
yeah, Oseanda said have AI create content to train a VA. It is. Because that's...
If you're writing SOPs, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we all want to hire the VA, but then we don't know what they're supposed to do, and then we wonder why they didn't work out. So that's a perfect use case. Another one he said too is customer responses are key. They can be templated in our PSA. So that's really an interesting use case I hadn't heard of. So
yeah.
Let's see.
There's
Here.
a calendar. There's usemotion.com.
Motion.
Oh, sorry,
that was the one I was thinking of.
Go.
Motion's one I haven't signed up for it, but I looked into it and kind of thought, oh, that looks interesting, but I'm not quite sure I want to give AI control over my calendar, because I've kind of spent a lot of time curating, and last week I replanned my whole calendar for the week. But that looks quite interesting to kind of know when you can do calls and when you can do meetings and all that kind of stuff.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like as MSPs when we first turn on RMM tools, and I'm talking about way back in the day, but still applicable now. And it's like, do I really want to turn the alerts on? Because then it goes, here's everything that's wrong in your network all at once. And you're like,
Yeah, it's Theo, you made a good point too. He said, we techs have always said that the adoption of tech will allow us to spend more time doing things we enjoy. I'm yet to experience that after 25 years in the industry. Is AI really the answer here? No.
He's absolutely
I
right.
agree.
It's a tool, isn't it? And the thing is, the more that we get like really cool tools like this, the more work we find for ourselves. And so we always end up finding more work because we've got better tools. So no, I think definitely it's a tool. It's like I say, it's not always right, so it still needs the human element. And that whole thing of what we do for our customers is the human element, right? If we can use it to offload some of the boring stuff, some of the boring activities, some of the jobs that no one wants to do, or even just crunch data, then I think that's a great use case for it. But other than that, I think it's another tool. We'll find a great way to use it, I think, but we'll probably find whole new challenges for ourselves.
Yeah, I knew I had to be a character in the comments too. Wim says this is an automatically generated message. I'm sure we'll see that at some point. We'll see, some automated bots churning out some YouTube comments as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Quietly confident tech said the work will expand to fill the available time. Exactly.
Always.
So,
that's one of the laws, right? I forget.
You don't have to look at AI
Parkinson's
for
law
this
on that one.
either. If we look at, like, I've got a robot vacuum. We've got a great dishwasher in the house. We've got, my lawn gets cut by a robot and stuff. So it's like, great, all that time that I freed up. Well, what do you spend doing with that time? Do you spend it creating beautiful works of art or learning how to speak Japanese? No, we just created doing more work with that. And that has, that's been the case from like the 1890s all the way up to the current day. All of this technology is supposed to free us up to pursue our loves and our passions, and we just fill it with work. So we spoke a few weeks ago. It was quite a woo-woo topic, wasn't it, about planning for the future. Pete, you and I said we're slowing right down, doing less stuff. Scott, you said you wanted to sort of make yourself dispensable within your business and stuff.
Useless.
What did you say? Useless within your business.
Make yourself useless. I need to get on the team.
When you've got the time and then you go, well, what do I do with it? I'll do a bit more work. It's not a healthy way to go forward. So there you go. I'll get off my soapbox there.
No, I'm with you.
Well, I've just got a quick one for you on the security side of things. So, like, everyone is worried about AI and that, phones and devices are listening to you and Alexa's listening to you. But I've got to say, Richard, that robot vacuum cleaner has been gathering dirt on you for years.
All right.
Can we have a... Come on, Andrew.
Oh, dear.
It's going to be a comedian.
I don't think
that sounds like a Carl Palachuk joke right there. You need to send that to Carl. So
you've got to, yeah.
Let's see here. Yep, Oceande said, "Yep, I spend the time I gain back by dedicating more time with the people I love and making the difference in the world around me." Yeah, it's a choice. It's a choice. Yeah. I'm all about creating holes in my calendar, as many holes in my calendar as I can create. So, yeah. Yep. Theo said, "Nice one, Scott."
Don't encourage him, Theo, for goodness sakes.
Yeah, I know what you. Pete's got a jet. So Christopher said, "Yep, really great discussion, gentlemen. Lots of great ideas. Thanks so much." Running off to prep for his next engagement. Again, we're all jealous. Goodbye from Kingston, Jamaica. So I don't have my Tech Tribe music up. It has got that Jamaica theme to it. So I would play that as our outro today if I had been quick enough on the draw. Yeah, Wim said, "Yep, the key is practicing the skill of asking much better and deeper questions."
Absolutely.
Whether it's AI, our people, ourselves. So we're getting the right answers on stuff that actually matters. So, amen. That's a nice way to end that. It's a nice way to end this episode. Cool. Lots of great comments today. Thank you all for hanging out with us today. I kind of figured this was going to be a kind of gangbuster topic for text, and I think I've got ideas for several follow-up shows that we could possibly do on this as well. But if you're going to take a marketing idea, steal that. So I know Pete's got to run. We're going to go ahead and wrap the show today. Oceana said he's got one more comment, so we'll let him drop that in there. Pete had to jump out. But yeah, we appreciate everybody's. I love the tools. I knew there was going to be a few tools that I wasn't aware of. Finding that every day. Make sure to use AI as generically as possible. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's a good view.
A LinkedIn user said, "Thanks, guys. Really informative." So, unfortunately, I'm probably not connected to whoever that is. So, my apologies.
Or maybe it's a bot called LinkedIn user.
A LinkedIn ghost.
But yeah,
Yeah,
he's
no,
expanding to like no real names or specific client content, obviously, because it's a great point. Like earlier, I demonstrated that we could summarize Pete's entire transcript of a video and say, hey, just summarize this for me.
yeah,
Well, I've uploaded all that data into an open AI platform. Now, fortunately, that's all information that's widely available on YouTube. So I've just taken that transcript and put it on. But you could be doing that with internal client documents. Hey, summarize this proposal for me. Write a better intro to this executive summary. And well, there's all kinds of sensitive data. So yeah, Sayande, brilliant. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Pete,
John, I'm
just
going to
as we
go ahead and
finish,
compile that list for you. John said, can you list the websites mentioned in the show? I'll try to compile those and either put those on LinkedIn
Andrew,
or
I was
YouTube.
going to say, I get asked every week. You say, "Oh, you mentioned so many good tools, resources, and that." When I do my podcast, I've got a member of the team does those show notes. I wonder whether AI could parse our conversation and say, "Here's who spoke about this website, book, or whatever." I'm just intrigued. Maybe we can leave that, and then when we next come back to this topic, we can have a look and see how well that did that. Because I'm sure there's got to be a tool out there that can parse this video or audio.
I'm going to try that in Descript. That's what I use to transcribe the show. As soon as I'm done, I dump everything in there, does all the transcription, then I put it up to our podcast episodes. Yeah, I'll actually see if I can take that transcription and see if it'll strip out the websites for me. Yeah,
Exactly.
great idea. That'll save me 20 minutes, 30 minutes of time. So
I'm always thinking of you, mate. That's the thing. So.
yes, so thank you so much, man. We had tons of people show up today, so thank you very
good.
much for all the people that
That was
showed
good
up
fun.
live. If you're catching this on the podcast, sorry you didn't get to see Scott's AI chat GPT conversation.
Yes.
So you'll have to watch that over on YouTube if you're catching the podcast episode of this. But we appreciate all of our fans who tune in every single week to add to the conversation. We absolutely love the MSP industry, as you can tell. Much passion, much love. So if there's any topics you would like us to cover on a future episode, please drop those in the comments. If you're watching us over on YouTube, please go ahead and like and subscribe. We appreciate that. And we will see you all next week. Richard, we won't be here next week, I believe.
I'm
And we
out
do
on
have-
assignment. We've
Yes.
got a very special guest taking my
Exactly.
spot.
Robert Gibbons, we've pulled him out of the shadows, and he has agreed to be on the show with us next week. So this will be my first time actually interacting on camera with Robert. I have not met Robert yet in person, but he and I actually have connected through my other show that I've been doing since April Fool's Day of 2020. But we've become virtual besties, so I'm looking forward to meeting him in person and sitting across the screen from him next week. It's
You are in for a treat.
lots of good stuff there. So thank you again, Osiande. First time joining. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to go ahead and shut down this show, and we will see you all next week. Richard, we will see you in 2 weeks. Take care. Be safe. Talk to you soon.